Almost 8 years later, the criminal trial against Milton Maza and Eli Lopez Avila began today before Supreme Court Justice Colin Williams. Investigators believe that it was Maza and Avila who viciously stabbed and murdered Attorney Richard Stuart and his wife Maria at their home on Graduate Crescent in West Landivar in October 2010. The couple had returned home after attending a bar association event, but little did they know that death was waiting for them inside their own home. The Stuarts were attacked by two men armed with knives. Their children and housekeeper were at home during the horrific attack. During the trial, the Crown intends to call more than 20 witnesses. It is expected to conclude within 2 weeks. Criminal defense attorney Oscar Salgado was appointed by the court to represent Maza.
There were witnesses that were called today when the case began. What we call procedural witnesses, witnesses who identified the body of both deceased, two separate witnesses, and then there was the evidence from the housekeeper at the time and a security guard that was employed by the University of Belize next door. The pace of the trial will be dictated by the Crown as to how much witnesses they want to call in. And there is about 29, I think, witnesses on the indictment, but that does not mean they will call everybody. And some of them are only giving evidence that is merely corroborating what previous witnesses would have said. So I think I would give and take 2 weeks.
It has been close to 3,000 days since the Stuarts were murdered. 3,000 days that their family has been unable to put the matter behind them. According to Salgado, one of the reasons for the extraordinary delay has to do with DNA evidence.
This case had a lot of technicalities to it, in the sense that it is purported to have DNA evidence, and the DNA testing had to go abroad to Jamaica. And so it took some time for the state to have acquired the proper DNA testing and get the results back to Belize. And then the provision of the law had required at that time that the person who did the testing ought to be in Belize. So we had that, the Crown had the obstacle of bringing the person to Belize. But since the amendment of the Evidence Act, the person can now give his deposition as an expert through a third party, or have it read into evidence by a third party, and that is where it eased the burden on the Crown.
Maza and Avila were unable to obtain legal representation, but since they allegedly committed a capital offense, the state was obliged to find legal representation for them. Attorneys were hesitant in taking up the case. This, according to Salgado, delayed the matter further.
And that is because, understandably, because the victims were people of standing in society. Richard was an attorney, and his wife Maria was, in fact, an accountant of, esteemed stature. So there were some hesitance from attorneys to make representation.
Avila is being represented by attorney Leroy Banner. The Crown is being represented by consuls Rene Montero and Kilero Awich. Reporting for News 5, Hipolito, Novelo.